Hey guys, I'm Mark. Today is going to be a beautiful day. It's early in the morning, so I thought I'd take you out and show you our perennial bed that's in the parking lot of our nursery. I just want to take you around and show you some of my favorite stuff. A lot of things are blooming in here right now, so I'll just kind of go around and take you through variety by variety and tell you a little bit about it. This whole bed was put in last summer, or it was redone last summer. There's a couple things in here that we just left, but for the most part, everything was put in new. Most of the pots were either installed as a quart pot or a gallon, or some of them are even 2 gallons. But we'll start off behind me here with this Buddleia, which is a really nice Buddleia. It's called a Lo and Behold purple variety, and it's a dwarf variety of butterfly bush. And what was interesting is last year it died all the way back down to its roots. I'm not totally sure if it's supposed to do that or not, but it came back with fresh growth, like super healthy and with a lot of vigor to it. You can see it's just got a real nice round shape to it, and the inflorescences are really nice and large. Behind here, I really want to stress on these guys. These are excellent. This hibiscus back here, it's called a swamp rose mallow. It's a native to the United States. And this is just an all-around excellent plant. We've got a few varieties in this garden. This one right here is called Starry Night. And you can see how big it gets. This is another one that's it dies back down to the ground every year, and you cut the canes out. And then you gotta be patient because it takes a while for them to re-emerge in the spring. They don't come back up until about late spring, but when they do, it's pretty impressive how fast they grow. You can see it's early, mid-August right now, and you can see how large it's gotten. And it didn't even come out of the ground until really like May. So some days it'll grow over an inch a day when it's really packing on the growth there. But you can see the size of these blooms are just incredible. Great for wildlife. Bees love them, butterflies like them, hummingbirds, and then even the seed pods in the fall and late summer, the birds will munch on those. Excellent plant that typically likes wetter feet. It's a swamp rose mallow is one of the common names, and you're going to find it in the wild in areas where it is swampy or sort of marshy or just kind of stays wet a lot of the time. But you can see that this bed out here where we have it is tapered off, it's hilled, it gets very good drainage, and we've had a really dry summer here at our farm, and you can tell it's just still doing great. So it's a very versatile plant. I've even seen it in situations much drier than this, and it thrives. It might, if it's really heat stressed, it might wilt a little bit in the evenings, but other than that, it's just one that keeps on going. It'll start blooming. About 2 weeks ago, it started blooming, and then it's gonna continue all the way into the fall. So a really long season of blooms on this. So I could really go on and on about this plant, but if you don't have a swamp rose mallow hibiscus, then it's definitely one to consider putting in your garden. So let's move on this way. We're just gonna go all the way around, and I'll take you back around the back side, and then we'll just kind of finish off where we started for the most part. Over here, this is a great sedum. This is called Dark Magic. And you can see the foliage on it really is a deep purple, and then the buds before they open are a really neat purple also. And then that'll bloom into just like a typical like autumn joy sort of color bloom, a light, like a rosy pink kind of color to it. But another one great for the pollinators. They love that. I'm excited to see what it looks like when it spreads. This dark foliage, it would really look good against something like a light background. So I'm thinking we have a lot of quartz in our area, quartz rock. I'm thinking about maybe bringing some down and just kind of placing them around, because that'll give it a good backdrop to a good background to contrast against. This guy over here, this is an Allium. It's an onion. This one's called Millennium is the variety. And this is another one that just gets covered in bees. Later on today, once the bees are out and doing their business, there's one right now, they will be loaded on here. I mean, yesterday it was almost every flower had a bee on it. It was pretty incredible. These will flower for several weeks, but you got to be careful with these sometimes because they will cast seed. So if you're going to use them for cut flowers, that's great. But when you're in here clipping your cut flowers out, just deadhead some of the older ones before they turn to seed and scatter it, because you might, find them here and there. It's sort of like garlic chives in that way. They'll do the same thing. But that was a quart pot last year. You can see how much it spread. It may have been a gallon. I don't remember. Here's a Here's a regular garden phlox. This is Phlox Paniculata. Another one good for the bees, butterflies. Nice tall plant. It'll spread out. This is another sedum. Sedums are great for areas that if you have, especially like really poor soil conditions, they love that. This one's called Atlantis, and you could have like really poor soil, but as long as you have like a slope where the water can drain out and it doesn't rot it, sedums are going to love that kind of environment. Stones, rocks, if you have like a real rocky area that you can't really get a shovel in all too well, sedum might be a good way to go. And that's for the low ground cover types as well as the larger, taller types. But again, this one is Atlantis. Great color to it. Doesn't get much taller than that at all, but it gets a yellow bloom on there, you can see. Most sedums don't flower until late in the year, late summer, into the fall. Up here is a Rudbeckia. We love our black-eyed Susans here in Maryland. That's our state flower. This one's called Viette's Little Susie. It's a nice tall one. You can see the flowers are a little bit smaller, but it just gets covered with them. We have a variety that we like to sell at the nursery called Goldstrom. That's a real nice standard. This one's got a little bit of a smaller flower than Goldstrom. The petals are a little bit more narrow. And then the leaves on there too are a little bit more like finer leaves up high. But great, again, for bees, butterflies, even goldfinches in the fall. We have these real bright yellow goldfinches that come around, and they like to land on these and eat the seeds. Same thing with coneflowers and things like that. Here's another one of those hibiscus that I was telling you about. This is a rose mallow. This one is called Midnight Marvel. Midnight Marvel is the name of this one. You can see again, it's got the really dark foliage to it. Same as the Starry Night. Not quite as dark as the Starry Night, but again, if you had something with a nice light background, like up against like a white fence or a white barn or something like that, I mean, this would really show up well. The blooms are not quite as big. I'll try to stretch this one out a little bit. Not quite as big, but just an excellent blood color red. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. A lot of our cameras, red doesn't really show up that well on camera, we find, but that's a really nice one. Let's see what else we got around here. That's a Kracosmia. This is just finished blooming, but that's a great plant. I don't know the variety of this. I dug this up when I was a kid and I took it to my mom's house and grew it there. And then this is one of those plants that kind of got transplanted over to here. But it's got a really interesting red, like snake looking, almost looks like a serpentine type look to it. I mean, I don't know, that's just me, but they're awesome for hummingbirds. Hummingbirds go crazy for them. If you have like a window or like outside of somewhere that you like to sit and you have you want to do like a hummingbird garden or something like that, this is a good tall height that'll send out flowers that are really bringing hummingbirds. But excellent plant, Kracosmia. This right here is not, well, I'll show you, I'll describe that I've got a better example over here on the end. We'll get to that. Here's another sedum. Up here is some Echinacea. This is, or yarrow is another name for it. This is Tutti Frutti pomegranate. All the yarrow that you'll see in this garden is the same variety. This already bloomed once and got really tall, but this is sort of what most all yarrows will do unless you tie them. They'll get really tall and they'll bloom at first, a big flush of blooms, and then they'll kind of flop over and sort of not look so good. So then you cut them back and then they just kind of get this second resurgence again, and that's what we're seeing here. But the Tutti Frutti pomegranate, it's a really nice color. And that's, again, that's all the Echinacea all the way around here. That's another sedum back there. You probably recognize that one. That is Autumn Joy. That's a good old standard, tough as nails plant. Again, really, if you got really poor soil, really sunny spot, dry, it's gonna love all those things. Huge display of flowers in the fall. It's a great way to introduce color into the fall garden once a lot of other things have started to die back or lose their flowers. And then again, the bees love it. Here's a better example of borage. This is not a perennial, but I just had some seeds in my pocket one day, so I thought I'd throw them in here. I love blue. It's hard to find a true blue in the flower world. Not too many things will give you that. That's a nice perennial geranium. It's spreading there. Let's see. Let's wander over to this side. There's another hibiscus back here that I wanted to show you because I just love the variety. I'm gonna stand back here with it because it might be a little hard to differentiate between these two, but this one back here is called Mocha Moon, and it's got like a white flower with that real nice dark rose eye to it, and it contrasts very well against some more of this this darker foliage. Again, it's not quite as dark as the Starry Night, but it's still just, you know, it like illuminates on there. It's like these big white spots against the leaves. That's probably it's a toss up between that and the Starry Night for me. I like the brighter ones myself. Back there, you can see those are hydrangeas that are starting to pop. They're just starting to bud out, so they're gonna light up with blooms here pretty soon. Those are pretty old. They've been in the ground for about 30 years now. And that's a Hydrangea paniculata. That one's called Tardiva. And that's even been cut back several times to like my height, maybe like 2-3 times, not several, but that's really filled out over the years. Hydrangea Tardiva. Let's see, what else? Here's another cool garden phlox paniculata. And there's some more of that dark magic sedum. Over here is a really nice plant. These are Russian sage, and if you've never planted this before, you got to do it. Excellent perennial. The bloom time on this is incredible. It just keeps on going and going and going throughout the summer into the fall. The bees go nuts for it. The scent of it, if you can put it somewhere that you sort of walk past and you might brush up against it, it's got a really nice fragrance to the leaves and the blooms, and it's tough. It doesn't like a wet situation. It's going to be sort of like your sedum in that way. You're going to want to have it on a slope or on somewhere that just has good drainage. It likes dry feet. Don't want to get that guy too wet. But a trick with these is you're going to want to cut them back to the ground every year, every winter while the plant is dormant, maybe just about to emerge out of dormancy, or it's already starting to, just a little bit. You see those little buds forming on it. That's when you want to cut it back severely, like all the way back. And then that's how it's going to branch out and really give you a nice bushy shape like this. If you don't do that, it might just be a little bit more kind of leggy and spready, and it might fall over a bit more. But that's a trick that you definitely want to use with these guys. Let's see. Let's wander around. We're just going to be kind of shoving in things here and there as the years go by. I mean, this is just kind of like going to be our little collection out here in the parking lot area for customers to kind of walk around and see something that they really like, and then we got to tell them, oh, sorry, we don't have that on hand right now. That's been fun. Do you have that? What's that out in your parking lot right now? Yeah, we don't have that for sale right now. Sorry, but no, it's fun. It's always cool to, you know, collect things. But here and there, you can see we just shoved some irises in. We have a friend of ours named Dave. He's a big iris collector, and he's brought over some neat specimens. That one's it looks like it says Tectorum Blue. He wrote on there with a Sharpie. Oh, here's a tag. What does that say? Tectorum Blue. Yeah, he's got like over 1,000 different irises. Let's see. This is interesting. This is not blooming right now, but this is an Asclepias tuberosa. It's our native butterfly weed, but typically it's orange, like you see on the picture right there. But we had a few come up in the pots that were bright yellow. You know, and out of several hundred that we grew this year, to have 3 of them that came out as bright yellow, it was like, yeah, that's pretty neat. So we saved them and we stuck them in here. So we'll see if we can get them to spread and divide, and maybe dig a couple pieces up and put them elsewhere on the property. These are some more sedums. These are 2 really nice ones. These are Sun Sparkler series. This one here is Lime Twister, this green one there. And then this one over here to the left is Wildfire. So it's another sun sparkler series, but this one's called Wildfire as the cultivar. Another great plant, nice and low. It only gets about that tall, spreads. This right up here is called Japanese Anemone. And I think it's called, what's it called? Honorine Jobert. Honorine Jobert. It gets these nice like paper white flowers on them. And it looks like the deer have been in here, because you can see they've cut a couple of the inflorescences off there. It's sort of funny. We don't get deer in here like at all. So for them to have activity on here, maybe they just really like those. But they're gonna come up to about here. This is a plant that likes a little bit of part shade sometimes. But out in the full sun, it looks like it's doing fine. Let's see, let's go around. This is a Veronica. This one is called Royal Rembrandt. I think it's Royal Rembrandt. Yeah, Royal Rembrandt is the name of that. And that's just a very nice Veronica. It's not looking so great right now. This is probably it's showing, you know, a little bit of stress right now in this part of the season. But earlier this spring, it was looking incredible. And then last fall, this just kept blooming like all the way into November, like late November. It was really incredible. Grows about this tall, and then just a very nice blue flower on it. I think that in November, December, after like a first couple frosts, it was the prettiest that it had been, you know, the entirety of everything. You know, all season, it was the prettiest in November, I think. While we're up this way, I do want to show you, I just got to take you out here. These are not perennials, but I want to show you what's going on out by our sign and by the gate. We always like to plant this area up every year with different kinds of annuals, just to give it a nice season of color up here. But these are the new Beacon Impatiens, and this is a mix that we put out here once we had time enough to do it, probably late spring, probably about mid-May, mid to late May. And you can see they just filled in very, very nicely. The Beacon Impatient is great because it's resistant to Impatiens downy mildew, which caused us, we couldn't grow Impatiens for the longest time because of Impatiens downy mildew. It would just wipe them out. You get into the hotter parts of summer and then you just lose them, or they look like heck. So it's really refreshing to see them again. And I mean, they're just so much color. They just go and go and go. You don't have to deadhead them or anything. They're totally maintenance free. They like that little bit of a little bit of a shady environment, not too much sun on them, but you can see they're just thriving here. Anyway, let's go back down over this way. This one here on the corner, I wanted to show you. This is just an incredible coneflower. Hey, Annie. We've got a lot of different coneflowers that we sell. This one is a yellow variety. It's called Sombrero Granada Gold. Now, we haven't deadheaded this at all. It's been blooming for a very long time, and we haven't cut any of the dead flowers off of it. There's like one right here, you can see. But as far as a coneflower goes, I mean, it's just amazing. We have a lot of Japanese beetles here in our area, and they seem to have been hitting really hard on the coneflowers, but for whatever reason, this one they just haven't touched, or they haven't touched much of it. I've got a lot of coneflowers, even coneflowers up in my garden, where the petals are just totally gnawed back, but you know, this one's just great. As far as a yellow one goes, I mean, I don't know if you could really do any better than that. So that's Sombrero Granada Gold. Sombrero is the series. They got a few different colors. That's the only one I've tried so far, though. This is a zebra grass. It's called Little Zebra. It's called zebra grass. You can see the variegations in there. Instead of the variegation going lengthwise, it goes across the grain. Really interesting plant, neat texture. It's a dwarf variety. Again, it's called Little Zebra, so it doesn't get like 8-9 feet tall like the regular one does. Great way to add a little bit of texture and different type color into the garden, especially if you have a dark background for that. I think it goes nice against the Midnight Marvel Hibiscus back there. It's just a little bit of a dark foliage. Anyways, let's keep going. Well, there's Annie. Hi, Annie. Oh, these are, oh gosh, bear's breeches. That's what this plant is. You're not going to see a lot of these in this area. We're kind of right on the line for these being hardy here. But I'm not sure if they're going to bloom this year or not. We'll see. They were put in late last year. They are a later summer blooming flower, but again, a hard winter will freeze them out, but friends of ours that have grown them say that they're able to keep on to them or hold on to them just fine. I've never grown them before, so I'm interested to see what they do. Let's see. What else? These are asters here. This is a fall aster. It's a perennial aster, and it's called Purple Dome. It's not blooming yet. You can see it's a later fall type item, but this is just going to be covered in purple flowers. This whole thing there. Again, butterflies, bees. Up here, you can't talk about butterflies and bees without talking about Joe Pyeweed. This is Eupatorium Pink Frost. It's a variegated variety. It doesn't get the gigantic pink blooms like the regular native Joe Pyeweed does. It gets, 9 feet tall, but they get pretty big, and they're just starting to form up their flowers right now. They're just tiny little guys right now, but they'll get some size to them, and then the butterflies just go nuts for them. It's spread a lot in a single season. I mean, it's a weed, right? Joe Pyeweed. I think I'm going to have to steal some of that for my garden. All right. Try not to fall down. It's nice to, when you have a bed, it's nice to dome it like that. We find it just really helps with the drainage. And then not only that, but it allows you to do this sort of layering effect. It's like looking up a staircase. Or up a shelf. You can see each thing as you go up, and it just showcases it a lot better. But the drainage allows you to grow things that you normally wouldn't be able to grow. Let's see. You can see the sun's hitting the greenhouse right now. While we're looking at the greenhouse, I do want to show you these. These are the lantana. If you've seen some of my other videos that I do in like the wintertime, these are the ones that we keep inside because we like to put them out in the parking lot. A big long line of them every year. The butterflies, again, they just go nuts for them. It's early morning right now, so there's not a lot of bee or butterfly activity going on, but later in the day, this will all just be covered. A lot of customers like to come in and just park their car, and some people won't even go into the nursery. They just take pictures of the butterflies. You can see there's a whole bunch of different varieties. Some of these plants are as old as 30 years old. We had one guy come in. He was interested in taking one and turning it into a bonsai tree. I'm not so sure how he's going to do that, but he seemed pretty confident. Here you can see where the sun's starting to hit these guys. There's the early risers of the bees. Beautiful plants. Love the hot sun. While we're showing you the lantanas, might as well make our way around the rest of the parking lot. It's going to be a beautiful day, gorgeous day. Not a cloud in the sky. Good temp. Yeah, hibiscus lantana are wonderful. You see them a lot down south. Up here, they're just grown as an annual. Down south, they will get that big. They'll get bigger than that even. Here's our whole mess of shopping carts. Gotta get them straightened out. And then here are some of the tropical hibiscus. That again, we just like to keep as pets and put out in the parking lot in the summer. So we got a whole bunch of those. And then behind there, you can see our sago palms. Some of those are over 20 years old. I think they're all over 20 years old. But they, in certain parts of the world, they harvest the pulp out of those, and it's called sago. It's like a starch that they use they eat it. I've never had sago. I've never seen it before, but that's what they harvest it from. And those trees, they wind up getting, where they grow the sago, where they harvest that, those trees wind up getting like 20, 30, 40 feet tall. But these are just grown for ornamental purposes. So anyway, I think that about covers it. I mean, we went all the way around the bed. There's another piece of Russian sage up there, but that's, you know, we saw the one piece of Russian sage. The last one was a little bit more floppy, so we'll just skip that part since it's all the way up here and I'm all the way down here. So anyway, that's our little tour of the parking lot and the gardens in it. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next time. See ya.